All right, netball is a great way to start our first live show of 2025. And it has been quite a journey for 26-year-old Shimona Jacques. You may know her as Shimona Nelson, the girl who attended Meadowbrook High School before switching to Holy Childhood in Kingston and quickly climbed the ranks, making her senior team debut for the Sunshine Girls at just 18 before landing a contract to play professionally in Australia. But back to the name, yeah? She has been married to Egyptian-born Australian professional basketballer Boy Jacques since November 2023. Shimona has had many uncertain periods on her journey. At one point, her livelihood was threatened down under, and there was even a point where many wondered if she would ever represent Jamaica again, as she qualified to play for the 12-time world champions Australia. But here she is in Jamaica, getting ready to suit up for the Sunshine Girls in a 3-match series against South Africa from the 18th to the 25th of January. And we are delighted to welcome her to the studio, our first guest of 2025, Shimona Nelson Jacques. Shimona, it's a pleasure to have you on the SportsMax Zone. How are you doing this afternoon?
Pleasure to have me. Thank you so much. I'm doing very well. It's a new little era. I like it.
What's it been like being back in Jamaica? I gather you've been here for a couple of weeks now?
Yes. It's been really lovely. I think my husband and I, we've struggled with the weather. It's a bit different because in Australia, it's like dry heat. Here it's like humid heat. So like even lacing your shoes up, like you're sweating a lot. So I was like, we've struggled with that. We still are struggling, but it's a bit better. The food has been really good as per usual. My husband, he's quite delighted about it. He's not so much a fan of spicy food, so he stays away from that. But that's like the best part. So unfortunately, he's not able to have that experience. But apart from that, it's been really lovely being home. I get to see my family. I get to just be in Jamaica.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. You started playing netball at, I want to say, a relatively old age, because here in Jamaica, the young ladies usually start from 8, 9, 10 years of age. You started much later than that, didn't you?
Yeah, that's correct. Even in Australia, they start when they're quite young. So I'm pretty much fortunate that I was able to start that late, but I was able to adjust to everything that was around me.
Yeah.
So
how late are we talking?
Probably say, as you may say, like age 18, because like in Australia, they're like babies starting from the age of the latest 2-3 years old. Like they may not know the game per se, but like they're enrolled in that environment where they have net set goes. They start from that age and it just brings them straight up through all the pathway, really.
Yeah. And you were about 15 years old when you started at Meadowbrook High?
I think so. I haven't, don't really remember, but around that time, yes. I don't really fully remember, but around that time. I think I remember leaving Meadowbrook in 2015.
Yeah.
Then I went to Holy Childhood in 2016. So I don't know the full age around that time, so I'm sorry.
But when I hear that story, I'm tempted to think that you have to be a natural, because if you started playing the game at 15 and by 18 you got the attention of a professional team in Australia, it suggests to me that that's a pretty short turnover time for you to have improved so rapidly as a new player.
Yeah, 100%. I think the pressure was really on when I think I'm someone who does well with pressure. Like, I feel like I flourish under pressure. Sometimes you have a little bit of like crack, but I don't show it. Like, I'm able to get over it and get the job done. But I think like in this moment, it was different because they relied on me and I needed to know how it was to compete at such high level. I think coming back from being in a basketball environment, it helps to toughen you up and be like, okay, like the team needs it. How do I take the hit, but like not crumble so that they can see like, okay, she's not one to mess with. So how can I take that hit, keep going for the team? And I think that was one where like, okay, like got thrown in the deep end. I did what I needed to do, not thinking anything was going to come out of it. But it was more so the experience of knowing, okay, netball is a nice sport. It's quite physical, but I don't really know how to play it. Because then there's a time like that same year when I debuted against Barbados. It was the same year I was in trying to my basketball scholarship.
Yes.
So like out of the blue it came. So I was like, hold on, how did this happen? Like, how do you go from not knowing the sport, just barely winging it out there, to someone reaching out to you, be like, okay, we'd like you to be a replacement player? I was like, okay, this is a scam. I'm not even going to pay any mind. Like, how is that possible? And I think, yeah, from that's like being open-minded and just going with the flow, really, and just like being adaptable. I think that's why I'm able to, like, you know, keep growing, never thinking I'm better than the sport, always being a student of the sport. So I think that's why I'm like probably a bit more well-grounded and grateful.
Yeah. How tough a decision was that for you, choosing between basketball and netball?
It was a difficult decision, to be honest. It was one of those decisions where, you know, like you've worked so hard for something and then now you have to really sit and measure your pros and cons. Like, if you do one sport, what it's going to do? If I go to this sport, what it's going to do? And I think that's where it was really challenging for me. But I was very grateful for was I actually had a mentor. Pretty know Simone Edwards. She passed away. She was one of my mentors, as well as Keith Daly. Probably I might not know him, but like, yes, they were both my mentors, and they were like, okay, you need to sit and plan how your future is going to be, because at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to live it. Not my mom, not my dad, not my family, not Netball Jamaica. I'm going to be living that. So I needed to sit and plan how I wanted my future to look like. And I think I took the opportunity of netball, and I was like, okay, it gave me a chance of being able to support for my family, still study, and become a professional. Because back then in the NCAA, you weren't allowed to make money because you had to go to school, and just it's purely school. And like the rates here versus the US, it's not very...
And
not very doable. So, yeah.
And now you have NIL, where U.S. collegiate athletes can also earn, let's say, professional money while they are in school.
Yeah.
But you went to Australia at a pretty young age,
Yes.
what, 19, 20 years old?
I went there when I was 18.
18.
Yes.
There you
17,
go.
18, around there.
Yeah, so
Yes.
still a teenager. How does the reality of being in Australia compare to what that teenager was thinking when she left the land of wood and water to go down under?
In all honesty, I was quite, I was anxious, I was nervous, I was all of the above. But I saw it as an opportunity to be better, challenge myself, get out of my comfort zone. Well, that was a far away comfort zone. I went there and I just took it with a grain of salt. Like, everything's going to be okay. My mom's going to be okay. My dad's going to be okay. I took it like, it's going to be okay. And I think what made me adjust so well my first year was my host parents in Australia. Like, they're full Christian. I'm Christian as well. So they made it so comforting. Like, they made it feel home away from home. So like, I'd always talk to my mom every single chance I got. Like, they've always make me feel at home. Because even though, you know, like first time adjusting to the Aussies, how they train in comparison to here, like it was difficult. But then like there was a bit of balance. Like I'd come home from training, probably not having the best session. I'd come home and they'd talk to me and be like, yep, that's okay. Let's go for a drive. Let's get out of the house. Let's do something. Because like they were really strong on having and treating people like a person versus the status they hold. So for me, that really helped me to get out of feeling homesick and feeling, okay, I've made the wrong decision.
That's amazing.
The Suncorp Super League in Australia is widely regarded as a top netball league globally, and you know all professional netballers aspire to play in the Suncorp League. You've been playing since 2018.
That's good.
Can you just quickly talk about the impact netball as a sport has in Australia and maybe even New Zealand, because you've been there before, as against what we have in the Caribbean?
I think it exposes you to what it means to be a real professional. I think that's one thing they tick off in Aussie and New Zealand. Like, they prioritize the athletes. They prioritize their needs in the terms of, okay, the do's, the don'ts. They're very well educated about, okay, the player management load. Like, I'm a goal shooter, but I'm not going to do the same as a centre. As a centre, they're not going to do the same as me. But they ensure they get to know their players, their weaknesses, their strength, and they fine-tune the program around the players, because if it weren't for the players, you won't really necessarily have the sport.
Yes.
So it works both hand in hand, whereas they take care of the athletes, then in return the athletes take care of the sport. So like in Jamaica, we're getting there, but like it can be better, because sometimes I feel like everything is generalized and nothing's really separated and delved deeper into to know, okay, if we're going to attack it this way, how can we do it in a way where we can challenge the Aussies?
Yeah.
Yeah, Shimona, after a debut year with Adelaide Thunderbirds, you quickly moved to the Collingwood Magpies. But as we said in your introduction, the Magpies had folded as a franchise, well, netball franchise, because the club still played other sports. And that put your career in limbo. Can you talk to us about that, and how worried were you at the point when the franchise just disappeared on you?
Yeah, 100%. Like, that was an emotional year for us all. I think 2023, we had a vision of where we wanted to be at Magpies. We were training, we were getting there, but unfortunately, like sometimes in a season we may start slow, but like not really giving up the hope that, okay, we're gonna finish last this year. But then like, unfortunately, like probably going into round 6 or 7, like we just got the news like, okay, netball's no more. Like, how do you keep going knowing the fact that, okay, the rest of the game doesn't really matter? Because at the end of it, it doesn't really matter if you play finals or not, because there's no more netball. I think it was all like really hard for us to swallow that pill, because majority of us has been there for like all our lives. Like, I've been there since 2018. I don't know anything apart from Melbourne life. I don't know anything else from being at Collingwood. And I think Jodes and I were the same. I think most of us, we don't know any other club apart from Collingwood Magpies. And that was very hard to do, to like have a meeting, yep, netball no more. So like, okay, what do we do? The last few games, we're like, okay, we're going to try to impress the other clubs to see if we can get a contract. But I was like, it's hard, because some clubs are very loyal to their players.
Yeah.
So that leaves us in a limbo. Okay, what do we do? Like, a few of us just decided to be like, yep, we're not going to play. What do we do? Do we move back home? Like, we were just stuck in the limbo, really trying to find our feet. And it was just complete traumatic experience that I wish on no player whatsoever.
Yeah, but you came through that, and it also eventually meant, because in that period you also got married as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how you plan a wedding in a period when you're not even sure if you're going to have a job, but kudos to you, well done. And what came out of it at the end of it is that you became eligible to play for Australia.
Yeah.
Did you ever seriously consider that?
In all honesty, I wasn't even really thinking about it, to be honest. I was just like, doing what I need to do, ticking the boxes. We go to places, we meet someone you like, that happens. It happens. Then I was fortunate to get married. I was really thinking about, okay, will I be eligible to play for Australia? And that, like, I really love my husband, so yep, let's do it. And the thing is that my host parents, they helped us plan it, so it wasn't just me alone.
Okay.
Or else I'll probably have great hairs now. But it was, I think, I wasn't really thinking about that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I genuinely wasn't.
When it became apparent, though, and the media started speaking about it, because that was part of the loophole.
Yes.
To get you to Melbourne.
Yeah, that's correct. I probably was still in disbelief, to be honest. I was like, okay, how is that really possible? And like, they told me all of the criteria and the requirements. I was like, okay, are you sure I still fit them? Like, seeing that I'm Jamaican, even though I'm married to an Australian, like, how does that work?
Yeah.
But then, like, it worked. Yeah.
Your commitment to Jamaica has been questioned in the past, even when you were not selected as part of the main 12 for the World Cup in 2023. You were selected as a reserve. And part of the reason given was they didn't feel you were committed enough. Did that hurt you? How did you receive that?
That did hurt me a lot, because what really hurt me is the fact that if you have a coach that tells you you're not committed enough, when on your end you've been doing everything to ensure that you're ticking the boxes, ensuring when you're called upon you're ready. And to me as a person, I'd go up and beyond to ensure that, okay, if I'm in a program, I'm going to do those 1%ers, even if it means I'm going to annoy you. Because for me, that says a lot. And in that year, in that period, I kept in contact with the coach to ask, okay, what is it do you need of me in order to be in the 12? Like, what do you need me to work on? Like, what do you see of me? Like, for example, here's my strength. What do I need to be better at? Not my weakness, but what do I need to be better at? But if you don't get any reply, how do you go about trying to mimic what is required of you?
Yeah.
And that's the position I was in. And to hear that I wasn't committed enough, I was like, isn't that nice?
Yeah, I can understand how much that must have hurt. But here we are, and we have a series coming up.
Yeah.
And although you made your debut for Jamaica as a teenager, 18-year-old against Barbados, we remember you getting pushed around, but you were very accurate when you were able to shoot, and that was brilliant. But for the first time, you will lead the shooting line for Jamaica in a series.
Yeah.
You went to England, you were pretty much second to Janelle Fowler there in early 2023. How do you feel about now being the lead?
In all honesty, I haven't really thought about being a lead there, because I feel like we're all equal players and we all bring different attributes and style of play to the game, because there's no way someone's going to be the same player as me or Janelle or Imelda, but it's really good to see that, okay, like, it's a different role.
Yeah.
Not getting too much over my head about being, okay, I'm going to be that goal shooter, because I can easily be replaced. I never take anything for granted. So, like, it's an opportunity, I'll take it. But if it's required for someone else to step into that role to make the team get over that line, I'm 100% for it.
Yeah. You're 26 years old now. Jamaica ranked third in the world, third at the last World Cup, second at the Commonwealth Games before. So as a unit, getting closer to the Australias and the we've beaten New Zealand, we've beaten England. Maybe just the Australian test left to topple on the big stage now. Do you see yourself being front and center or a significant part of that thrust when the next World Cup comes around in 3 years?
Yeah. I would definitely love to think that I'd see myself there, but like before we get there, like it's all about like, you know, building and working on each individuals before we think that far into the future, because for me, I'm always about the now. What can I do now in order to prepare me for the future? Yeah. Because if we're thinking about, oh yes, I'm gonna be the front line and not do the work, that's a different story. Like I have to ensure that, okay, I'm ticking those hard boxes, those challenges to ensure that I'm ready when I'm called upon, and not just be like shy away, like, okay, I'm not ready for this anymore.
That sounds just about right. And what can, the Jamaican fans expect come the South Africa series? Starts on the 18th of January, by the way. Matches on the 18th, the 22nd, and the 25th. So ensure that you are already buying your tickets. Remember the thrill of the England series. And the Sunshine Girls will be looking to topple the South Africans as well. So what do you have to say to the fans, Shimona?
I think definitely you get a word for your own money. The girls, we're going to do and play with our hearts on our sleeve to ensure that when you guys come there, you can sit, enjoy the game, ensure you bring your pat covered in, remember. We ensure that.
Wow, that was impressive. Go ahead.
Highly impressive. Better than Mariah, can I tell you?
We'll ensure we give you a words session on all 3 days to show you that, okay, we want your support to back us through towards the Games and World Cup. So to know that the Sunshine Girls are here to stay. Yeah,
the South Africans are ranked 5th in the world at the moment, and outside of the big 4, they have been pretty steady at number 5 in the world. How much of a threat do you consider them to be?
In all honesty, in my perspective, I never see or take any team for granted. Like, as you know, as our history, everyone always comes hard for the Sunshine Girls. So without not giving the credit to South Africa's Spark Portiers, they are going to come out hard for us. We have to do the work to ensure that when they come hard for us, we
You're
don't
ready.
crumble, and we know how to take our time, chip the ball away. If we make an error, we don't bite each other's heads off. We just keep ticking together as a team, and we win together as a team. I think that it's really important that we remember that. Do not take South Africa for granted.
Yeah.
I think that's a baseline, and once we have that baseline and we take that first step over that transverse line or baseline, we know exactly what we're doing on court and we go hard at it.
Yeah, and at 6'5", Ricardo, we know that Shimona is towering over a lot of her rivals, and we expect great things from her.
Yeah, she's 6'5".
I think so.
Yeah. By the way, that message, she should also tell the commentators about not biting the players' heads off when they make errors. Shimona, it's been a pleasure having you on the SportsMax Zone to start 2025, and we really do wish you all the best with the Sunshine Girls, and of course when you head back to Australia for Suncorp.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Great.
All right. Let's head to a break. We're back with more on the SportsMax Zone. Oh yes, Lance is going to be at that place at the track after this.